Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. On a quarter after midnight on July 30th, 1945, the USS Indianapolis, a Portland-class heavy cruiser with 10 battle stars for her service, was hit by 2 torpedoes from a Japanese submarine. 12 minutes later, the ship was lost to the depths not far from the Marianas Trench, taking some 300 of its 1,195 crew members with it. The remainder were strewn about an area in the ocean hundreds of yards wide, and for 4 days they floated in a mixture of open sea salt water and diesel oil, in the blazing tropical sun during the day and in the blistering cold of the ocean at night, constantly wet, bobbing in 12-foot swells, their skin breaking down layer by layer in the chemical mixture. Over the 4 days before they were spotted by an American pilot, they lost more than 300 more to dehydration, salt poisoning, suicide, succumbing to injuries sustained in the sinking, and shark attacks. Among the survivors, and one of only 13 still alive today, was our guest, Harold Bray. It was his first voyage as a sailor and his last. And it was a defining event in American history, in World War II, and in his life. We love him for his sacrifice to our country and for his dedicated service to our community, and we think you'll love him too. He's our special guest today, Harold Bray.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summit.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
My name is Harold Bray, and this is the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Harold Bray is an American treasure, and we have him right here in Benicia, California. He's hosting us at his house. Harold is a survivor of the USS Indianapolis, and for our listeners, if you don't know the story about the Indianapolis, it left here with Harold Bray on it after amassing 10 battle stars, including the Battle of Guam, for which I'm thankful because I'm from Guam. When you got on it here in Mare Island.
Mare Island, yeah.
And you were on your way, underway from here on your way to Tinian to drop off.
Well, we went Mare Island to San Francisco,
okay,
and we picked up whatever it was. We didn't know whatever
it was.
And then we made the high-speed run to Pearl, which still that record stands today, 74 hours to Pearl.
From Hunters Point to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
74 hours.
And then from Pearl Harbor went to Tinian, where we dropped off the package.
You were saying that as that boat, this is a giant ship, and the back end is just dug in, and you were getting it.
We were taking water over the fantail.
Yeah.
We're doing about, they say 34, 35 knots.
Yeah.
So that's pushing a lot of water.
Almost 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. A ship that big going that fast. And we couldn't use the after chow hall because the water was coming over the fantail.
How much fuel does that take? I mean, that must burn a lot of fuel going that fast.
How much what?
Fuel.
Oh, I don't know. But I don't know what we were burning, but it took a lot of fuel. We took on more fuel in Guam, I think, before we left Guam. I think they fueled up there. I'm not sure. Either that or Tinian, you got more. We made a stop at Pearl, but that was just we carried 200 passengers from Mare Island, from guys being dispersed out in the South Pacific. But we dumped them off at Pearl Harbor, and then we took off from there.
Just to give our listeners some context, from here to Pearl Harbor is about 2,800 miles. From the west coast of the United States.
2,400.
About 2,400.
Yeah.
And then from Pearl Harbor to Guam is probably about 4,400.
Yeah, it took another day, I think. I can't remember.
And Guam and Tinian are maybe 250 miles apart.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that the package to which you referred was the atomic bomb.
That was it. Yeah, we didn't know that though.
Yeah.
We didn't know it until we were in a hospital in the Philippines. Then they told us, well, we got picked up on the 5th of August.
Well, let's back up because you skipped a bunch of stuff there. We went from you're leaving Tinian, and on your way out of Tinian.
Yeah, we dumped the package off at Tinian.
Right.
Then we went to Guam, and the skipper went ashore to get orders, and
beer.
He asked for an escort, and he said, "You don't need one."
So you were refused an escort on Guam.
Right.
Wow.
And he said the people at Guam said there's no action here for a long time. There's nobody, no Japs around. So
got quiet since Liberation Day.
But there was a ship sunk 2 days before that. The Underhill was a Liberty ship got sunk just outside of Guam. That just a couple of days before that.
Nobody wanted to tell you about that.
No.
So you didn't need an escort, or so they thought.
No, we left Guam, and that's when it was so warm, and we had no air conditioning in the ship, so the skipper let us sleep where we could find a spot. My bunk was down three decks next to sick bay, which was pretty hot down there, so I chose to sleep up on number 2 turret. You could see number 2, the 8-inch turret there.
Okay.
I got up on the ledge and underneath that, and a pillow and a blanket, and I got into about midnight, and
so you're up topside, but you found yourself some shade.
Yeah,
This one right here?
right there, that one, yeah. And the first torpedo hit right under me on this side and rolled me off the deck. I fell about 10 feet to the next deck, and I went to get my shoes, and they went over the side. So I got down on the quarterdeck, and by that time she was listing pretty bad. And there was guys laying all over the place and screaming and hollering, and so I thought I made my way aft through the port hangar, and there was somebody in there throwing life jackets out. So I grabbed the life jacket and went aft some more, aft to the bulkhead.
But the torpedo hit. So if you had been in your bunk, you would have been done for.
I would have made it. Everybody got killed up forward. The Marines, and we were segregated in those days. We had blacks and Filipinos all slept forward. Along the Marines, we carried 37 Marines on board too.
Okay.
And don't ask me why, because they're just guards anyhow. They didn't do anything.
Yeah. There's 37 of them.
We call them seagoing bellhops,
Right.
You guys were Marines, were you?
No.
Army, it's all right. You're fine. Yeah.
But anyhow, I got back to the fantail, and there was 2 kids leaning up against the bulkhead. One kid was bleeding really bad. His arm was all full. I gave him my life jacket and went back and got another one and came back to the fantail.
How much time did you
By
just
that
describe?
time, I was walking on the bulkheads. She was listing pretty bad.
Wow.
And I got to the lifeline, and there's a Frenchie was standing there. He said, "You better get going, Bray. She's going down." I said, "Where am I going to go?" By that time, he left. I never saw him again. I climbed over the rail, and by that time, one of the screws was out of the water. She was still turning. And I ran up the side of the ship. She was laying on her side. And I got to the quarterdeck, and I jumped off at the quarterdeck. It was about 40 feet off the water. I hit the water, and somebody hit me, drove me down. I don't know how far I went down. But I opened my eyes up, and the moon was out. And I thought the ship was coming down on top of me, but it was an oil slick on the water.
Oh, boy.
So I got up through that, and I looked back, and she was up on her bow, already going down. She was standing straight up and down, and there was guys still coming off, like ants on a stick,
Wow.
Well, as a matter of fact,
And how far away from you?
about 100 yards. I didn't get it very far away.
I want to ask you, time moves different. I'm a combat vet too, and for me, combat time changes, fast, slow, whatever. That 12 minutes from boom to gone, was it 30 seconds in real time for you, or how much time did it feel like?
I don't know. It didn't. It seemed longer.
Okay.
But it was just like it got hit at like 12, 15 maybe before, and she was gone by 10, 12 minutes. She was gone under. Of course, the bow was gone. She sucked up all that water.
Yeah.
The bow was blown off. Matter of fact, when they found her, they found the bow first. It was about a mile away from the rest of the ship. They found her, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a miracle they found her because she's down 18,000 feet.
Wow.
She's sitting
not far from the trench.
She's sitting in a canyon.
Uh-huh.
I think I have it on tape, too,
Amazing.
on there. If you want to see it later, I can show it to you. But what's surprising is how clear everything is, so clean. There's no moss, no nothing on her. And the gun mounts, she's sitting straight up. The 2 forward mounts are gone. The 2 8-inch mounts are gone. But the one on the fantail still, and they can't understand why, because they're not bolted down. They're on a gear.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they can't understand why the back one,
Why it's
the
intact.
fantail stayed on.
Wow.
But there's a 40 millimeter mount and a couple of 5-inch mounts you can see on the fantail.
They found the plane also that was on the ship, correct?
Well, they found a wing, I think.
Okay.
But you know what? I don't remember the airplane being on her that day or on that trip. I don't remember seeing them, but the guys, because when I got on the quarterdeck after we got hit, the whole where the plane was supposed to be was full of guys, wounded and crying and screaming, and I didn't see an airplane that time. And they said one was on a catapult. I didn't see that one either. So I don't know. I wasn't that observant or what, but I didn't see it at all. Any of the planes on the night we got hit.
Wow. So to pick up where you left off, you're in the water, and it's you and a bunch of diesel oil.
Well, when I hit the water, I surfaced and, of course, got oil and crap in my eyes and face and mouth and everything. But there was a raft with another raft, but a net floating with a guy sitting on top of it. So I swam to it. And we got it unrolled, and it rolled out to about 40 feet square. It was a floater net.
Wow.
And so we start picking up guys, and we counted off. The next morning, we had picked up 151 guys, just our group.
That's a big group. That's almost half of...
it was about half of the survivors.
Yeah.
But depending on where you went off and when you went off, we got separated in the water.
Sure.
There was
and probably hundreds of yards apart.
Oh yeah, there was. I don't know. Some guys went up early, and I don't know. The skipper had. I think he ended up with 4 rafts and 9 guys. I don't know where he went off, or he just floated off. I don't understand how he got off the ship, but a lot of guys just jumped off early, and we're spread out all over the place.
Wow. So when you were out there, how did you were in a group, so you slept in shifts, or because you were out there for 4 days?
I don't ever remember sleeping, but I guess I did in 5 days. What happened to me, I met this older sailor. I never saw him on the ship. His name is Pappy Goff. He died here 3 years ago. He lived to be 102 years old.
Wow.
But he's some way, he latched onto me and told me what to do and what not to do. He was like 20 years older than me. And so I think that saved my ass a lot of times. In the night, I'd get on the net, so I wouldn't, if I fell asleep, I wouldn't float away. In the daytime, I'd hung out around the edge because the guys were, second and third day, they start going nuts and fighting and
so you're just trying to separate yourself
fighting
from
each other. So I stayed as
the
far as I
scrum.
would away from them.
Yeah.
And Pappy did the same thing. And we were,
Thanks, Pappy.
yeah, Pappy Golf.
So when you're out there in the water, over the course of a few days, things change. Human dynamics change. People.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every day was different. The guys were drinking the salt water, going nuts.
Oh man.
You can't imagine. The last guy that I seen come by me one day, maybe the fourth day, and it turned out to be a half a guy, but he came flying in front of me. And he looked like he was smiling, but his face was all swollen. His tongue was swollen. He couldn't. He was dead. I know he was dead. I pulled him in and tried to tie him to the net, but I guess I didn't. He was gone, but it looked like legs were gone or something. He must have been hit by sharks or something. But,
wow.
But
a lot of guys were hit by sharks, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
they never bothered me much. But didn't like the smell. I don't know.
When you go into the water, I mean, nobody's ready to be in the ocean. So people are hungry. They're, working on whatever. They're playing cards. What was your state? I mean, obviously you were sleeping, but were you well fed? Were you feeling like I was just uniquely prepared for this unpreparable thing? Or?
I don't know what was happening because when they knocked me off the ledge, I looked up and the fire coming out of number one. And I was getting showered by hot steel. My arm was all burned with the hot steels. And that's the only injury I had. I didn't get hurt at all.
Well, you held up pretty good.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that you enlisted. You talked to your mom and dad into signing you in.
My dad, yeah. I think he wanted to get rid of me. So
yeah. Well, you talked your dad into signing you in. Your mom wasn't too wild about the idea.
I was a senior in high school.
Uh-huh. Where'd you in high school?
Half my year was gone, and all my buddies were enlisting or being drafted. I said, I might be missing something here.
Uh-huh.
So I talked my dad.
There's a party out there.
So my two other buddies said, yeah, let's go enlist. So one didn't have a father, so my dad signed him in too.
Wow.
But he made it to boot camp with me, but he disappeared some night. He couldn't grasp it. I guess he might have shipped him back home. He couldn't he couldn't get involved. He couldn't learn the manual arms. He was kind of dense, I guess. I don't know. Anyhow, they got rid of him, and the other guy got back on a medical, and they left me there by myself. But that was better that way anyhow. But
wow. So you went in when you were 17 years old, and then your first deployment on a ship was on the Indianapolis.
Yes, and the last one.
And the last, which really is remarkable. Because you are the youngest survivor.
Yeah.
So now take us through the. You were picked up on the. You guys were sighted on the fourth
Before we
day.
get picked up, I want to ask, how do you spend the time in the water? I mean, how do you occupy your mind?
Well, just staying away from the other guys. I knew enough to do that, because I didn't know anybody on the ship.
Because you were new.
I was brand new.
Yeah.
I went on with 12 other guys out of my company, and none of them were in the water with me. Matter of fact, I don't think any of them made it out alive.
Wow.
Of the 12 guys that I got on with,
Wow.
I think they all got killed that night or died in the water.
Well, you guys reunite at least once a year, right?
Yeah, we still. Yeah.
So if they
I just
had,
got
you
a
probably
notice
would have
of
known.
the dates on the anniversary. Well, it'll be in July, of course. 4 days in July. I think it's the 18th to the 22nd or something this year.
Oh, so you get together for all 4 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then I got a notice one guy died last week. He was 96.
Wow.
He was probably the oldest of the survivors, and he died there 2 or 3 days ago, I guess. But there's 13 of us left, the survivors.
I want to tell our listeners that you are 92 years old. Is Is that right?
I'm 91 now.
91. If you are listening on the iPhone podcast app and you have not looked at a website picture of Harold Bray, you don't want to mess with him. He's 91 years old. You don't want to mess with him.
You know, at one of the reunions, the guy that was painting this picture here, I walked up to him. He says, was your dad on the Indianapolis? Yeah.
Speaking of dads, I married a young lady named Christy Brinkerhoff, and she said to tell you hi. You were friends with my father-in-law, Dell. You guys work at the golf course together?
You
remember Dell Brinkerhoff? He lived around the corner.
Yeah, Dell.
Yeah.
He died. Dell's dead?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, he worked with Dell for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was kind enough to let me marry his daughter, and she said hello.
I don't know about him. He's kind of grapple part.
Yeah, he was. That was part of his charm. So, getting back to your experience in the water, you're occupying your time and really getting away with it partially because you didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
So that allowed you to escape the mix. And a lot of the guys got messed up in the mix. What the mental undoing, some of that had to do with drinking the salt water, huh?
Well, that's what kept me alive, was not drinking it or even letting it in your eyes or anything, because it's poison, actually poison.
Yeah.
Guys that drank it the second and third day, they just went nuts and either swam off or died, or, you know, it's a killer. I give all the credit in the world to Pappy for keeping me from any trouble.
Yeah.
I would stay mostly by myself during the days, and of course, like I said, I'd get up on the net at night, so if I fell asleep, I wouldn't float away from the group, and a lot of guys, that's how they disappeared. And of course, the sharks were busy all the time. But I had them, you could look down. We were in the water all the time. I mean, we were wet all the time. There was no getting out of the water because all we had was a net to hang on to. And of course, the guys were lucky enough to have life jackets, but they were only good for 72 hours. And we were in the water already 100 hours, you know.
So those life jackets were getting waterlogged, and they were
they start pulling you down. Of course, they're full of oil too, and if you weren't hanging on the net, you were up to your chin in water, you know.
Wow.
But
how was your state of mind in terms of being rescued? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things out there. You guys had said you'd seen airplanes fly overhead.
Every day.
Did you feel like, did you have hope, or was it just...
Well, that's all you had. It was hope somebody else would come along. But there was no ships. I never saw a ship the whole time we were out there. And that morning, I can't even describe when we saw that airplane in the horizon, and it kept coming and coming. It was low enough. He's coming right at us, and according to the pilot lived here in San Jose for a long time. He then died, and we used to get all the information from him what happened. And the only reason he ever saw us, he was laying down. One of the guys was laying down checking an antenna that broke on the airplane. And he was looking down, and it came over the oil slick, and they thought they had a Jap sub. So he opened up the bomb bay doors and was going to drop. He had the bomb and everything. But he came over us and had seen us in the oil, and we were screaming and hollering, of course. He couldn't hear us, but anyhow, he went over us and gave us the wing thing. And he came back and did it again.
Waved at you?
And then he went straight up. I could still see him going. I said, where the hell is he going? So he told us later that he had to go up to about 7,000 feet so he could his radio worked to the base. And he radioed the base ducks on the pond.
Yeah.
And that's when the rescue started.
That meant there were a bunch of you floating around in the water.
Pardon?
That meant there were a bunch of you floating around on the water.
Yeah, he didn't know if we were Japs or what, but he just said there were ducks on the pond. And that's the rescue started. And The PBY that came out, I never did see her. She landed in the water. Mm-hmm. She landed in another group. We got separated pretty good in the water.
Okay.
The groups did.
So the 150 of you that you gathered up to begin with started
I think
to get
they say
separated.
we drifted like 200 miles or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, the seaplane, against all orders, landed in the water. Open ocean. Wasn't supposed to do it in open ocean. They picked up 51 guys that night in the seaplane, but they couldn't take off.
Too many guys. Too much weight.
Well, he tied them on the wings and the pontoons, and it cracked the wings and pontoons. And
I'm sure guys were saying, put me anywhere.
Yeah.
Strap me to whatever.
Yeah. See, I didn't see any of this at all. And when we got discovered, we started dropping stuff from the first airplane. He dropped
provisions.
He dropped a couple of life rafts, rubber ones. I didn't get on one, and then dropped some I think some guys got some cigarettes, but no matches. So they had to shoot the goddamn cigarettes. But he dropped some kind of food too, I guess. I didn't. At that time, I swam away from the group because he dropped something that looked like a tank of water.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I swam.
You hadn't had water in 4 days.
No, I swam to it.
Okay.
Later, when I talked to the pilot, he said, you could have pulled up the mic and talked to me. I said, I didn't want to talk to you. I wanted a drink of water. So it was no good to me. So there was a guy.
He dropped the radio. What'd you do with it? You just left it?
Yeah, I just left it. I just pulled it up and seen the mic. It was a sub detector.
Okay.
So I swam. There was a raft with 2 guys on it. So I swam to it. And it was just a ring. There was no deck to the raft at all. It was just a ring. And sometime during the night, those guys disappeared. I don't know what happened to them, unless they died or got hit by sharks or what.
So this was you had been spotted. The rescue effort had begun. They were sending somebody for you, and during that time, the guys that were on the raft with you disappeared.
Yeah, there's guys. They just
kept dropping off.
They were just so tired and
just couldn't take it anymore.
Couldn't hang in there. My best friend, who was in a different group, he was with 5 guys. They got on the airplane. Now they swam towards the airplane, and the 5 guys, 4 of them died on the way to the airplane.
Oh my gosh!
And Dick's the only one that survived that group.
When you went on your swim for the radio bucket of water, how were you in terms of energy? I mean, it's one thing to say I swam there, but you hadn't eaten or had a drink in 4 days.
I don't know how I got there, but I don't know. I must have had enough strength to do it. I was just happy that I didn't have to go back to the group because they were going nuts over, probably fighting over the food that the guy was dropping or some. I was just lucky the other raft was there too. But I didn't like the idea of being left there by myself. Because if I fell asleep, I would have gone or too, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometime during the night, I was rescued the next day. I think I was the first one picked up because I was on the outer ring of the rest of them. I think it was still dark when I got picked up. They hit me with this spotlight because they didn't know what we were. And the Higgins boat come up and they threw a ladder over the side and asked me, who are you? I told them, Indianapolis. And Indianapolis was sunk. Nobody knew it. And so he threw a ladder over the side. Hell yeah, I can climb. I couldn't even lift my arm out of the water. So 2 guys got in the water, got me out, and put me in one of those basket things. And they took me back to the Bassett. I don't remember picking up anybody else with me. And they put me...
oh, you were way on the outskirts.
Yeah. And then they put me on the Bassett. The ocean was really rough, as I remember that night. And the Higgins boat was bouncing up and down. The ship was bouncing. And first thing, I was flying through the air. they jerked me out. I got this. The next thing I know was laying on the deck of the Bassett. And that's all I remember for a couple of days. I woke up in somebody's bunk with clean clothes on. They cleaned the oil off me somehow. I don't remember how. But I woke up, some guy was cleaning my eyes, the oil out of my eyes, and I grabbed his arm, and I remember him saying, "That's okay, sailor." And I went out again. I never woke up till we got to the Philippines a couple of days later, and we went to the hospital in the Philippines. Our group did. The other groups, I forget, I think.
The groups got dispersed? They sent other guys
yeah,
other
we
places?
got separated in the water. So the
When
tides...
When you were passed out on the ship, though, did they give you an IV? How did they give you nourishment?
I don't remember getting any...
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero, co-host of the Break It Down Show and fellow producer here at Lions Rock Productions. And I'm proud to announce our newest show. It's called Justice. Season 1 is going to be a deep dive into some of the cases I personally worked on as a licensed private investigator, and you'll get a unique view into the criminal justice system that may just challenge some of your personal notions about how it should work and open your eyes in ways you never imagined. So keep your ears open for Justice, a brand new podcast from Lions Rock Productions to iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Did they give you an IV? How did they give you nourishment?
I don't remember getting any. They tried to give us some juice.
Okay.
Because they were smart enough to not to pour water on us, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that would have killed us all. But I think when I woke up there a couple of days, I had some juice. And we didn't have anything else till we got to the hospital in the Philippines, which was a couple of days more. Because we couldn't take in any food, I guess. I lost 35 pounds in the water.
Wow.
Let's go get
4 days. I know. That's what we need to do. We need to go float around the water for 4 days.
I don't
give me some
recommend that
abs.
diet. But
Okay.
You don't recall anything other than juice, but did they give you an IV? I mean,
I don't know. I can't remember doing anything like that.
that's what you'd want to do right away now is like put
I don't think they were equipped for that on the ships. Because the ship that we were picked up by was a demolition transport.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was a marine ship that took Marines into the beaches.
Uh-huh.
And it was the Bassett was the name of the ship that picked me up.
So you must have lost sailors after you had been quote unquote rescued.
There was 4 or 5 died after we got picked up. They were in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I'm just an old country boy. I guess I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you survived a massive tragedy.
Yeah.
A lot of it because you separated from everybody else.
Yeah, probably kept to myself most of the time, except for Pappy, and we remained friends forever. He would come to the reunions, and we just hang together. Then Pappy died. Oh, he's been about 5 years ago now. He's been gone.
Wow.
But he kept me alive.
Thanks, Pappy.
Yeah.
That guy must have been, just he learned all the ways of the ship and just understood what to do in all the situations. And you were lucky enough to have fallen off that ship.
I don't know why he picked
right
me.
near him.
I don't know why he picked me. I never saw him on a ship.
Because you looked like you were going to make it.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
I'm glad he did, but
sure.
I always wondered why he even latched on to me, because I didn't know anybody. If I did, I didn't recognize them in the water anyhow.
Yeah.
They were covered with oil, and you wouldn't know your own brother next to you, but it was that thick bunker oil.
Yeah.
It was all over you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
How long did it take to get – so when I would be in combat, I would come home, and physically I'm home. But about 7 to 10 days before, I really started to arrive, and then a couple of months before, emotionally I was just home.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to all the way get out of the water, where it wasn't any part of who you were anymore?
I'll tell you what, every day I think about something that happened out there, or there's not a day that I don't go by that something triggers something and I think about it. Yeah. I have a lot of nightmares. But I haven't knocked my wife out of bed very recently. But she's been dodging me for a long time.
So I've got a question. How many lost their lives?
We lost 880 guys.
Out of how many?
1,100.
And how many are surviving now?
13 of us.
So my question to you is, you ever ask yourself, why me?
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
And
Why
have you ever come to a reason?
No, it's just, I don't know why. I was just in better shape than a lot of the guys, I guess, and young enough but there was a lot of young 17-year-olds on that ship and went on with me. There was even 3 sets of twins, and they never made it, though. None of them made it.
Wow.
So I don't know why me. Why me. I don't know why.
I just think there's always a purpose for something that we go through, and I just believe that God divinely had his hand upon your life.
I don't know. I haven't been too good to him, though. So
That doesn't matter. Just a question.
yeah.
So your return to the Bay Area came eventually, but first, when you left the Philippines, they gave you a little bit of time off.
Yeah, we ended up in Guam.
Okay, that's a good place to take some time off, if you ask me.
But we were in Hospital 18 there.
Oh, okay. Maybe not in the hospital.
We went to hospital, and then we went to the rest camp. Submarine rest camp there. And we were there, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Then we all got on the aircraft carrier Hollandia.
Mm-hmm.
We went home together, everybody, except some of the guys were too sick to be moved yet. So I guess they stayed in Guam for I don't know how long. But anyhow, we ended up in San Diego.
Okay.
But we still didn't have any clothes. I had
You
borrowed.
were in hospital gowns.
Yeah, I had somebody's. What they call them in the Navy, jeans or something.
Dungarees.
Dungarees, yeah. I had once that what I was wearing, and then we got to the San Diego base, and they started issuing us uniforms, but some were too big, some were too small. They set us out in San Diego, and we're being picked up by the SPs for being out of uniform.
I love it.
So we finally got that straightened out, and we got a 36-day survivor leave, and I went home. I lived in Upper Michigan at the time.
Oh, you're a Youper.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Born and raised there. My assignment, they let us choose where we wanted to be stationed after that. And my buddy Ray lived in Detroit. And there was a little air base outside of Detroit, Navy Air, and we chose to go there. And we had it made for another year and a half. It was great. I stayed in the Navy another year and a half after that and got out.
Around Detroit.
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out a listener who lives up there. Paul Colombe lives in Houghton, Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
He's our listener in the UP.
We
might have a couple of them, but
Houghton's about south of where I was.
Oh, south.
I was up in
you were even more robust.
Lake Superior.
Lake Superier.
I was right on the Wisconsin border. Hurley, Wisconsin, Ironwood, Michigan, right there.
Did some ice fishing?
Yeah, there's a lot of. I had a place on Lake Ogibic.
Okay.
I had like 20 acres there, and we used to fish for walleyes and pickerel, and
All
but
right.
I only lasted a very short time after I got out, and I wasn't going into mines. My dad worked at iron mines. That's all that was up there was iron ore mines.
Yeah.
So I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm out of here.
I'm
You guys
getting
want
outta
to go?
here."
You better be in the car. So I had a sister up in Washington State. I went up there first, and I worked at Bethlehem Steel for about 3 months. It got way too wet.
You'd had enough of that.
I had a sister living here in Benicia.
All right.
And she came up to Washington for Christmas. Says, I'm going home with you.
Yeah.
So I've been here ever since.
No kidding.
What year was that?
1948.
Wow.
New Year's Day, 48. I was here.
Wow.
And apparently
Now-
it's stuck.
Yeah.
And you're old school Benicia because you say Benicia.
Yeah.
And we like that.
Not only that, but we have to acknowledge that Harold Bray spent 23 years on the Benicia Police Force.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That was my ambition. I chose that when I was in the 8th grade. Either that or a truck driver, cross-country truck driver. Well, I did a little bit of that in the Navy. We used to haul, when I was stationed in Detroit, we were dismantle a base in Indiana. So we got to convoy back and forth. But anyhow, I worked for the government at the Arsenal for about 13 years. And I got on a reserve police here.
What year was that?
58, 59.
Okay.
And then I got on the regulars 59 or 60. Yeah, 90, one of those 2 years anyhow.
So I owe you no apologies then. Yes. How about you, Kurt?
Well, I'm trying to think where the police station was because my dad graduated from Benicia High in 1953, where the police station is now. That was Benicia High School.
Yeah, well, when I went on board, we had a station downtown of it's a restaurant today.
That's right.
It's right there on D Street. Yeah, D Street,
Yeah.
right there on the corner.
Yeah.
We went from there to remember Winners and Winners. We had a station there. Then
Up
we
there by
went,
Baskin
then went
Robbins.
over to the high school.
Yeah.
From there.
Boy, you saw a lot of evolution in this small town.
Well, I tell you, we straightened it out though.
It was just a fishing. It was just, you just had work to do in a fishing village.
Oh yeah. When I went on board, there was only 6 of us.
Wow.
We had to we
You had to Rochambeau for who got to go to sleep.
yeah we remember any of the guys, the old guys. Bill, he's old Indian. He used to. I don't know you guys were. We still had meters on the First Street.
Wow.
And Bill Madden was his name. He's an Indian.
Uh-huh.
I used to
He
pull
used to
some
make the
shifts.
revenue, huh?
Oh, it's just, that guy was too much. We had pulled shifts together, and we'd take turns dispatching and patrol.
Okay.
So
Turns dispatching.
yeah, we had to go dispatch one night.
Did you ever have to dispatch yourself? Like Bray,
Yeah.
take this call. You're like, I better
I'll be
go.
right out there.
Bill lived about a block away from the PD. So he says, I'm going to go home for lunch tonight. Okay, so he takes the car, goes back, goes home, and I'm waiting. I get a couple calls. Hey, Bill, you got to... His wife answered the phone and said, where's Bill? He said, oh, he's in bed. He went to sleep. I said, get his ass up. You got to go. But he pulled that shit so much on me.
So you were right then in the action when the Zodiac killer killed the people out.
Matter of fact, I rode the school bus because he threatened to blow up the school bus.
Right.
We picked up kids at Mare Island for this Catholic school.
Yeah.
So I rode that bus several times.
Did you do the call out to Lake Herman Road? Or was that all Vallejo PD that went out there? 'Cause that's kind of...
Gate
Yeah, it's
13 was
borderline.
ours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think the guy died in prison or something. We never did find him.
Yeah.
But it was kind of exciting for a while.
Yeah, we were in the national spotlight for a moment. Wow.
I just have one more question. And again, because I see life through the combat lens, kind of like you were going to do it, I always think to myself, no one's trying to shoot at me today. Hey, whatever is happening is all golden for me, right? Do you have that? You're like, I'm not floating around in an ocean, so it's all good.
No, I don't know. I don't remember much of the memories of. I remember being out there, but I don't remember ever thinking that I was going to die. But you don't die at 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
But the kids were dying all around me. But they were drinking the water and fighting each other, so wasting all that energy. And I don't know, I can't tell you why I didn't do stuff like that.
Did it change your outlook on life?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, it does. Yeah, you appreciate what you have today or any time, you know. It's something that I can't even tell you how bad it was out there, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't explain how it was on your body alone.
Right.
Anything you touched after the third day, the skin would roll off. You're just rotting away. Yeah. My whole body is just new skin. It just peeled right off, you know. After the third, fourth day, anything you touched, your skin would roll off.
Yeah, it was just.
I tried to get my life jacket off, and I couldn't untie the knots because of my fingers wouldn't work.
You had this experience at age 17, and it really has made the course of your life a lot different. And I, can really think about how you appreciate life differently. But you've also had to tell this story probably 10,000 times, and we sure are glad that you're telling it with us tonight.
I just did it up at Beale Air Force Base last 2 weeks ago. I did it up there. A bunch of Sea Scouts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, you fixed their little red wagon, huh?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. It said 7. How old are you? He said 13, 14. I said, 4 more years you could go in the Navy.
Yeah. Can you swim?
Has it been has it been a pain in the ass having to tell this story so many times throughout your life?
You know, at first, I think it's none of your business, you know.
Yeah.
But after the story had to be told, and it still does. People are still wanting. Matter of fact, yesterday a guy knocked on my door. He had one of our books in his hand. I don't know how he knew where I live, but he lives here in Benicia. He just wanted me to autograph the book. Wow. Yeah, I do that quite often. As far as the 2 girls that wrote the last book, we usually meet up, and we were at the aircraft carrier down in Alameda.
The Hornet.
We did that a couple of weeks ago.
We had Lynn Vincent on the show
a
while back. Yeah, she was on already too. Yeah.
I don't mind doing it anymore. It's sort of a relief for me, you know, to release that. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I would never ever tell that went on up there. Is something that normal people would never see.
Right.
And they wouldn't understand anyhow if I tried to tell them.
I told my father-in-law about your story. He just passed away, Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a Master Chief on the Navy for 21 years, and one of his ships was the USS Pyro.
Oh, yeah. He made Master Chief in 20 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he was a career man, and it's hard for him to tell stories of what went on out there at sea.
Well, the thing is, people just would not understand if I elaborated on what happened out there. It wouldn't even sink in. It wouldn't be. Yeah. They wouldn't know what I was talking about even.
Everything in that world is different than this world.
Yeah,
the ethics are different.
It's not a real world, actually.
It's not. No, it's a temporary, weird world.
Yeah. I never told my kids about this. I guess they were in high school before they knew that I was ever on that ship. My mother and dad died not ever knowing about it. I never told them about it.
Let that sink in for just a second. You never told your mom and dad?
No, never did.
Wow. And it wasn't... Wow. I mean, at the time, we were at war, so it almost wasn't... There were plenty of things to see, and there was plenty of news around that you could just let it get buried.
They probably didn't even know I was on a ship.
Wow.
I didn't write home very often.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was in hospital.
You couldn't tell your mom you got your dad in trouble.
Yeah. I was in the hospital in Guam, and the what do you call the minister on the Navy?
Chaplain.
Chaplain come by and said, Harold Bray, you better write home. I guess somehow he got the letter that where was I? So
he got wind of the fact that you weren't writing home.
So I wrote home and told him. Matter of fact, my uncle was a Marine on Okinawa, and on the way home, he found me in a hospital on Guam. I don't know how he ever did that. He walked in the ward. I was laying in a bunk, and we both bawled like kids. There was something else.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was just got up. The war was over, and he was on his way home. And I don't know how he found out I was in the hospital on Guam. And somehow he found me in the ward there.
Terrific.
I took him to the chow hall and fed him. He hadn't eaten real food for a long time.
Well, I want to point our listeners to USSIndianapolis.org, where you can read the details of the story. You can also read about the organization that keeps the guys reuniting, the survivors reunite every year to get together for the 4 days of the year that they spent floating around in the water. I also want to point to the fact that you, were you the chairman of this organization?
I am chairman.
You are chairman now.
Nobody else wanted it, so.
Well, you're the youngest, so it's time for you to take the mantle
finally in
away.
command. Way to go, Bray.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots to read on that website, and I encourage everybody to do it. And I will say that I can't thank you enough for the sacrifice that you endured over there, and the fact that you've sacrificed by enduring telling this story so many darn times because it captivates all of us.
I don't mind doing it anymore. It's okay.
Well, you've led a life of service, and we appreciate it. Our guest today, everybody, is Harold Bray, and we celebrate you around here, and hope everybody of the 13 survivors around the country, wherever they are, everybody ought to celebrate them. But we got the youngest one here. We got the young buck, the chairman.
The last reunion, there was only 3 of us at the reunion.
Oh, boy.
The other guys can't travel anymore.
Yeah.
We do have one Marine, though.
Okay.
And he's not, I think Ed's 94, 95 years old.
One of the 37 made it.
Yeah. Well,
Where's he at in the country?
He's in Tennessee.
All right. He's on the list.
This guy, you got to hear him speak. This guy can speak.
All right.
He got a voice to speak. I just was in Florida with him and Dick Thielen, who is other survivor from Lansing, Michigan. Him and I were in boot camp together.
2 Michiganders. You guys came through Great Lakes, I imagine.
Yeah, we had to stick together.
Yeah. Wow.
We weren't in the same company, but we were in boot camp at the same time. We went on a ship the same day.
Yeah.
And we were buddies ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah. He's older than me 3 months.
Just barely.
I have the needle for that, He's the old guy.
Yeah. You get to rub that in.
Yeah.
If you go to USSIndianapolis.org, you're going to read the story of Captain McVeigh as well.
Yeah.
Captain Charles Butler McVeigh III, was court-martialed.
That was stupid.
For failing to zigzag.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That was
a big political thing within the Navy. The story goes that McVeigh's dad was an admiral, and he chastised this was a ensign at the time, and he got to be, I can't remember the guy's name, Steph would know. He got to be in command of the South Pacific, and that's how this court-martial came about.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it was a thing that this guy had against McVeigh dad.
Because his dad, yeah.
Because his dad. So, and
Took
that's
it out
how
on the
that
son.
came about.
That's terrible.
I didn't get to go to the court-martial. Several of the guys that were on watches went to the court-martial. I was due to go on watch 4 o'clock the next morning, but we got hit about 1 o'clock, so I didn't get to go. That's where the story is. The guys that were on watches got to go to this court-martial, and that was really a sad thing what they did to McVeigh.
Thank you so much for everything you've done and your time, and
No
keep
problem.
doing it. It's incredible. Like John said, you're an American treasure, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Harold Bray, everybody.